up, I wear a replica Stephen Bunting shirt. There's a photo of the trio from Jetlag the Game, and a beautiful backdrop at the local footy as I follow sport play by play. Hello one and all, and welcome. This is Series 1, Episode 3 of Play by Play. I'm in front of my curtains for a change into the wall, just thinking about changing things up a little bit. I'm recording this on Friday the 6th of June. Yes, it's taken me that long to get going here. So, what is happening in this edition? Well, in a moment, we're going to take you back to the last day of the month where the Nunawading Lions played yet another game of football. Earlier in the week, I did a bit of extra timing with my good friend Josh and No Mark Woods, so stay tuned for more on that. Then tomorrow, as I recall this, I'm back at Vision Australia Radio, helping out to produce and getting to decide if I want this volunteering opportunity, which I pretty much do, which is the Nunawading Lions thing, make things a little bit difficult at the moment. Also coming up is more YouTube stuff, though, because of the chaos of this week and last week with my last week of semester 1 at uni, where I'm still behind on that, particularly on that Rod Laver video, which will come up sometime, hopefully within the next week as I record this. What else is on? Australian Cricket Society will be back up and running at a decent rate. There's plenty of stuff there at Extra Time, as already mentioned. And yeah, that's where we're at the moment. Now let's go back, weirdly, for a vlog all about June, back to the last day of May, where the Nunawading Lions were at home, as they hoped to continue their season in a slightly more positive manner than it's going. As promised, last time out, in Episode 2, Episode 3 actually starts on the last day of May. Nunawading had a tough matchup against Knox. They were back at home after quite the series of matches away. The umpiring certainly didn't help them. That's a line I could use for every single game they have played all year. Controversial umpiring being a common theme in the season for the Lions, meaning you bet it will be a common theme for this documentary I'm working on too. No doubt about it. Knox were victorious by 84 points. Time to move on now, though, into the month of June, the primary focus of this vlog. Let's head now to Extra Time, the Holmes-Glen Chadstone campus podcast studio. The first recording Wednesday was on the 4th of May.
Ready?
Good. Actually, hang on. I went over there and forgot to do something.
What did you get to do?
I wanted to flick this to here so I can see what it looks like. I've actually made the camera a bit higher than normal in terms of the ISO, and it looks good.
Yeah, it's good. Like that.
All is ready. We're in OBS 2, so it won't take up as much space.
Watch out for your feet again.
Ready?
Yeah, sure.
What time is it? It's about 12:50. I told you we'd start by 12:50.
Well, needs moment, but a bit over time. Not in a rush.
Let's try and... yeah. No, I just don't want to be here forever.
Same.
Okay. Are we good to go? Where's the mouse? Here it is.
Testing.
ISO 500. Let's go. Alright, I'm just going to have to live without noise in my headphones. Take 2. I didn't move the gain, so I wonder if that did anything. Hang on. Testing now, it did nothing. Alrighty. Ready? The Nine Dart podcast was all about the end of the Premier League darts, with Luke Humphries winning the title and completing the coveted Triple Crown of the World Championship World Match Play, which he both won in 2024, and the Premier League. Footy Chat for all this month missed its regular host, Mark Woods. Woodsy was feeling under the weather throughout June, so it was just me and Josh who were left to talk about footy. I thoroughly enjoyed both episodes that we recorded on the 4th. Another day, at extra time done. Footy Chat and Nine Dart podcast both enjoyed with Josh. Though, slight worry the Footy Chat won't process properly. I've just left it alone because I need to get going. I need to get back to a couple of emails. Australian Cricket Society, Vision Australia Radio, and something else that may or may not be something that we discuss later on in the show. Hampton train station. Won't be needing to go there, but often do. Might be seeing tons of that in future series as well. There's a lot I'm holding on to here that I can't divulge. But look, from an extra time perspective, that went well. Now it's some footy both with Josh. We both enjoyed the show, both roughly between 45 and 50 minutes, so happy. Just hoping that the processing completes for Footy Chat episode 13. Slightly worried it won't, to be honest, because it kept telling me, well, processing will begin soon, and it didn't. Fingers crossed. Because Saturday the 7th of June occurred over the long weekend, there was no football in the EFNL. So I was back helping Vision Australia Radio again. I didn't take any more photos or videos, but I did get another on-air mention.
You are listening to Vision Sports here on Vision Australia Radio. Natalie Cave, John Payos. Big thanks to Roger Ewan and Lorenzo Di-Mauro Hayes in the production box.
Frustratingly, the Lions and the sports show always clash, but once the Nunawading Lions season does finish, I can see myself volunteering there every Saturday morning. G'day Internet, it is Tuesday the 10th of June as I record this. Just had my hair cut and my eyes checked. The short-sightedness is getting worse, I need new glasses. I will work on, in a moment, the Nine Dart podcast and Footy Chat rundown and Canva, and also play a game against Josh that will be discussed in episode 21 of the Nine Dart podcast. But first, you know it, you love it, it's back. Short Shot Sports, I'm about to record one on the World Test Championship final and why it should be a timeless test match. Here we go. So, shortly after recording that video you just saw, I made my return to my series called Short Sharp Sports, my opinion short video series inspired by the likes of Tyler Webb, Frank Michael Smith and others. My point here was that the World Test Championship Finals format allows for a very anticlimactic end to a 2-year-long competition, the health of which is important for Test cricket's future outside the Big Three nations. My solution? A timeless test match, one that would guarantee no draw. Thankfully, like the first two finals, we did not see a draw or a tie, with South Africa winning by 5 wickets. It will happen eventually if we are not careful though. Anyway, speaking of the great sport of cricket, I'm hoping to put out as many as 3 articles for the Australian Cricket Society, whom I'm writing for at the moment, in the next couple of months, including one on the World Test final, which South Africa won. That article will focus on what it meant for South Africa to finally win an ICC title, and the repercussions for Australia, especially that bloody batting order, which just continues to disappoint us on a regular basis. Big day today.
Yes.
Time to switch that stuff. That flicks there, which turns that on. This needs to be... whoopsie. Needs to go in there. Just a bit hard to do when you've only got one hand. But that works. Turn that on. Do I need to hit the button on the back of this? There we go. That's on. That's good. That camera looks roughly in the right position we want it. Put the flag out.
Yeah.
And the flag is important because
Very important.
Australia in the World Cup of darts this week. We are recording after all that time trying to work out why mic 1 here wasn't working. It's because I turned down the master and then forgot to turn it back on. We're going Bunting mental! Yay! Alright, let's start. Just get back into position. It's always with these shows. There's always something really obvious. Well, there's always a couple of things that are wrong.
Yeah.
And it's pretty obvious that they're wrong. But it takes a while for us to sort it out. 21st episode of the 9 Dart Podcast. So with no Woodsy again, it was a pretty similar routine from last week. A podcast about darts, followed by a podcast about the AFL, back to back, just me and Josh figuring out and ensuring Extra Time has some content on the channel. One thing that, of course, must be mentioned is Stephen the Bullet Bunting, who blitzed the field at the Nordic Darts Masters off the back of a tough Premier League campaign. It is tradition at this point for me to wear my replica Stephen Bunting shirt, something I got as a Christmas gift late last year. We're recording the podcast right after Stephen wins a tournament, or a Premier League night when he did that in Berlin. Don't count him out for the majors later in the year just yet. Nor should you count out more Bunting mental editions of the 9 Dart Pod, or indeed, well, this very program play-by-play. What a day, what a couple of days here in the Unscanned Podcast studio. It's just been me and Josh. But I think we put out 2 very good podcasts about darts and footy. But everything's switched off. Everything's been uploaded. I did switch off this camera. Yes, I did. Oh no, I've got to go the other way. See? It's off. Right. Time to go, I think. I've got that Rod Laver video to finish in the next few days. It's my version. It's this year's version of the Ayrton Senna video. A video that's going to come out a month later. It's still sort of topical at any time, but I probably missed the main window. Mainly the 2 weeks of the French Open, where it would have been the most topical. Alright. Mind you, I've got to get back to other people as well. Several emails that I need to send, that I also want to send, especially for the Dance Podcast going forward. Here we go! G'day, Internet. I'm coming to you from Friday the 13th. Of June. A couple of updates. Firstly, the Rod Laver video, I'm locking that in for Tuesday the 17th as a release date. Yes, it just keeps getting pushed back further and further, but at this point I'm just trying to get it done. I've recorded the first half of the audio, and the second half I hope to record tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, I'm going to watch the Nunawading Lions play for the first time this month. I did talk about them at the start of the vlog, but that was from the last day of May. No one played last week as a result of the King's birthday long weekend. You know, what's interesting is I've been just doing this with my phone, mostly. Occasionally I've got a camera with me, and I thought maybe the production quality wouldn't be so good, but I've been recently inspired by Jet Lag the Game, which, for those unaware, is a travel competition show hosted by Sam Denby, Adam Chase, and Ben Doyle, who are basically now the modern internet contemporary versions of Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May, with Jet Lag the Game becoming a internet modern contemporary version of Top Gear if it was just the challenges and the specials. It's a fantastic show, and something that's really struck me watching it, other than the great camaraderie between the 3 hosts and an occasional 4th guest, depending on the series, is the fact that it's all shot with a standard phone that the guys run around with. They don't obviously have, unlike Top Gear, big production quality of the BBC to hire out, these massive teams, as helpful as those nebulous subscriptions are. So yeah, they just run around with their phone. They've got a little that microphone that you pin to your clothing, shirt, jumper, otherwise. So that helps with the audio, which is a bit better than most phones. But that, that sort of inspired me to sort of stick course with what I'm doing here. So that's where we're at sort of not quite the midpoint of the month, but almost. Look at that. For a backdrop at the local footy, by the way. Clearly the best we've had all year. Nunawading Lions versus Montrose, and things were competitive at quarter time, but as the game went on, the Lions just pulled away. We still haven't had a single close game so far, one that's gone right down to the finish. Every game, the result has been decided way early, pretty much. The only one that wasn't was that game against Scoresby that was played as a twilight match. That one was decided really early stage of the 4th quarter. So far this documentary doesn't have any tense moments. It was a strong performance from Nunawading, running out 46-point winners over Montrose. I guess given I did it last time, I'll give you them singing the song once again.
Lions!
that's 2 wins for the Lions at what is effectively the halfway stage. They were 8th on the ladder at that particular stage. They were below Montrose on the ladder, despite beating them because of a poorer percentage. Given at the start of this year, I really didn't expect them to get 1 win after they were thrashed in their first couple of games. One against Kilsyth, the other against Warrandyte. It has been really strong to see what the Lions have done, and the effort has been much better across all games since those 2 really poor performances to kick off the year. I just love, however, when I... Yeah, no, that doesn't look fine, but...
Is it not?
No, not when you put your... I always like putting my camera up to it, and it looks terrible on there, but actually, when you just use your plain eyes, that looks terrible. Well, it's not so bad now.
Use the naked eye.
But when you use the naked eye, all is good. Master is actually up this time. Didn't have to worry about any of that. Final touches. No footy today, because Josh has got to go. He's planning a trip to Bali. What's that going to do for episode 23? I've got no idea. We might have to have you call in, Josh.
Maybe.
Or we just not bother with it. I was so focused on this. Such an exciting World Cup of Darts. I basically didn't watch any football. And people are going to be in here editing later anyway after lunch. So let's get started using OBS as per usual now, because we don't have space that QuickTime doesn't allow us to use. Still, I'm struggling. I've been looking for that the thing that changes the lights, that switcher. I'm going to go in front of now. The only... Oh no, that'll be it. I'm just going to be very careful. I've gone up and over this instead of behind it where I knocked it a few times ago. So I'm going to try and go ahead of this, use that area. See, but that looks fine. That actually looks quite nice. Pod time. So things were a bit different for the 18th. Given Woodsy was still ill for footy chat and Josh was heading off to Bali with his family, there was no footy chat recorded, just a 9-dart podcast, which focused heavily on the PDC World Cup of Darts. Seriously, watch that final if you haven't, and tell me darts isn't the greatest sport in the world. Bloody love the World Cup. There we go, a sensational episode. Nearly an hour as Northern Ireland win their first World Cup of Darts. And we talked about it for the vast majority of that episode. No footy chat today because Josh needs to get going. He's going to Bali, so I've got no idea if we're doing 9 darts next week. Woodsy is still ill. Hopefully he'll be back next week. And I actually didn't watch that much football at all. I watched the Thursday night game and some of the Cats Bombers game. But I was out hockey umpiring. I was out working on the Rod Laver video, which is still quite further away from being done. Yes, I said I'd finish it on the 17th. I didn't. It's the 18th and I'm still not close. Yeah, and of course lots of hockey umpiring, lots of that Nunawading Lions as well. So plenty going on, but that one's done. The EFNL made it easy for themselves with their fixturing, just making sure that after the halfway stage it repeated verbatim. But this time, the away team is obviously at home. That means the Kilsyth ground was where the Nunawading Lions travelled to for their next matchup. That ground is not far away from Montrose, so the Lions had another good backdrop. But the result was different. This was a blowout like it was when these two teams first met in the first week of the season. But I'll give the boys credit, their effort levels were much better than they were in the first couple of weeks. I think this documentary really show the behind-the-scenes stories of these struggling teams. So often we see a big score, and to be fair to the Lions, there have been some far worse blowouts in local footy in recent memory. But we see these big blowouts and we think, well, how come it ended up being that way? Other than, is it more than just, one team is so much better than the other? Well, obviously one team is usually so much better than the other. But it is often there are more important factors than that. And in the case of this particular game, the Nunawading Lions had no bench. They just had 18 players that were able to participate. And that is obviously a big advantage, especially given Kilsyth had 4 or 5 on the bench. So when you take in those factors, it's slightly understandable why some local footy matches have these massive blowout scores. And I think it's important to remember that. Lorenzo, where is that Rod Laver video you've been promising for ages? I hear you ask. Well, it's up on my channel for you to check out right now if you want to. While not my longest video, I did underestimate the time it would take to fact-check his major results and really unpack Laver's career, especially those 2 calendar Grand Slams, which the video is primarily about, as you can tell from the title. It's a good story, as I said in the video itself, inspired from Kevin Sheedy's great book, Icons of Sport, which has got me thinking about some other future ideas for this channel, but that was was the first and main one. Here's me finally publishing it and thinking about what I need to do to get this channel moving forward. There it is. Right, that took longer than I expected, but that's finally done. The Rod Laver video is up. Just been thinking, yeah, that's not good. I basically started this year way ahead. I was hoping to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, and I started like, wow, I'm going to get there. But things have really dried up in the last 28 days. If we go to, like, if I just tick down here, like, playing my older stuff is still what's getting views, so that's less good. Alrighty, so that's where the Rod Laver video story comes to an end. As for, what I'm going to do next, tomorrow, which is the Monday, and yes, I did publish this on a Sunday, even though I just said earlier in the piece that it was going to be a Tuesday. No, I don't care. Sunday's tonight, so Monday, I'm going to work on a couple of articles, one for the Australian Cricket Society, and one for Extra Time. Both need to be finished by the end of that day, so that's going to be tough. Going to watch some stuff on the TV while doing that. Really, from this channel's perspective, it's just about this vlog for the rest of the month. There's another Nunawading Lions game coming up this weekend after they got battered at Kilsyth, as you just saw. Yeah, that's where that's at. I wrote an article for Extra Time. It's been a while. I've been busy with doing, well, everything else you've seen. It was based on episode 22 of The Crumbs, Extra Time's women's sports podcast. Margaret Foster was on to discuss the axing of funding to the Office of Women in Sport and Recreation by the Victorian State Government. I'll publish another article, probably the day after this video is published, actually, on July the 1st. It'll be on the first tour weekend of the new Australian Darts Association. Sorry, I read that wrong. It'll be about Raymond Smith, because he won all 4 ADA events over the weekend. We have known for so long the Guru is such a great player. He won a Champions Week at Modis a long time ago now, it feels, and made the last 16 at Ali Pali, for crying out loud. So that will be coming soon, as will the next editions of Footy Chat and the 9 Dart Pod. No podcasts were recorded on the 25th of June due to Josh being in Bali, as I mentioned already, and Woodsy still unwell. Fingers crossed we will all be back at the start of July. When this Lions doco does get finished, there will be some time spent on the first time the Lions played against Warrandyte. It was an extraordinary mess and a hash of performance, with an extraordinary halftime coaching spray as well. Well, the Lions played them again, and things went, well, a bit better. I mean, it was still a 3-figure loss, but it was better. Remember when I said the umpiring has been great? Well, it wasn't here either. Well, the first quarter was fine, then the rest of it wasn't very good, leading to something I've never seen before. Yes, that's a white card. An EFNL policy introduced to clamp down on umpire abuse. Having stood on the Lions bench for like 90% of their season, I can say it ain't working. The Lions went down by 105 points. Though, to be fair, there was a kick right on the siren, which made it 105 instead of the 99 it was sitting at. What I'm going to try and show you here is exactly how I'm going about backing up my Nunawading Lions documentary footage. Now, originally this is supposed to be a video, but I can't screen record here off File Explorer for some reason, so you're going to have to bear with screenshots. What you're looking at here is the folder within my hard drive, where I also back up all my YouTube stuff. This has a folder called Nuna Lions Doco, and in it is all the games. Now, I think I've been pretty clever here with how about I've gone about sorting all of those. So we have all the games in each folders, though as you can see by the fact that the earliest folders are dated the 12th of May, I actually haven't quite gone about this for some time. Originally was one big mess, which was a terrible idea, and I don't know why I stuck with it for that long. But what I did eventually do was I put them all in folders, and I named them very carefully. They all start with R1, R2, R4, etc., because that is the round. Remember, the Nunawading Lions had a bye in round 3 because Chirnside Park pulled out of the competition after those first 2 weeks where they forfeited both games anyway. But So I have got those R4, R5 down there, which tells you where the round is. It tells you where in the season we're at, but also formats it nicely. So if you sort by a name, that is done correctly. I've also put the 3-letter abbreviation of the opponent, just so we know who it is, and for completion's sake, hyphen followed by the date. Now, if we go into, let's go into R2 War, because, well, I mentioned that already. Every thing in here is an MP4 video file, which is great, all off my phone. But if we go to R4 Bay, which was the Bayswater game, that was the first game where I took a camera with me to record along with my phone. So in addition to MP4 files and also a JPEG file, because I've also backed up a photo in here of the scoreboard, which is used in the thumbnail of Series 1, Episode 2 of Play by Play. There's a bunch of M2TS video files. That great torpedo after the 3/4 time siren kick I showed in the last episode of Play by Play is one of these M2TS video files. Now, I had to, when I've used those in this play-by-play series, I have had to screen record them and make sure they're an MP4 video file, because when I've just tried to use the M2TS, or even when I've tried to convert it to MP4, it comes off with this weird aspect ratio. So I don't know if I try and edit this, perhaps in other software, whether or not it will help me or not, whether M2TS video file will be able to be handled by other editing software. I don't want to use my regular OpenShot video editor for this, because it is terrible. Well, and also thing you'll mention, if we go to, say, R10 Killscythe, I haven't backed up the most recent game just yet, you'll notice 53 files of MP4 video files and M2TS. But I'm not going to be able to use all of it. I mean, maybe 6 minutes max of each game will be used, maybe, in the process of a long documentary. And so I'm going to have to make a decision with making sure which one get in. Also, you'll notice the file is just when it was recorded, and not it has been labeled any further than that. So that's probably also going to be a headache I'm going to have to deal with. But also, a lot of these films, pieces of footage, like, they go for 1.5 minutes long, and they may very well make the cut, but only like the last 30 seconds of which. So that's also going to cause a lot of problems for future Lorenzo. Past Lorenzo doesn't particularly care. He just wants to make sure he's got as much footage as possible. And I have to record, the whole game. If there's something great and I miss it, I'll never forgive myself, and neither will the Lions players involved. So I'm going to need to keep on top of everything. This is going to be a very difficult process. I can tell a future Lorenzo is not going to like past Lorenzo's decisions, but as I said, past Lorenzo, well, present Lorenzo at the moment, isn't particularly interested in what future Lorenzo has to say about anything. So yeah, that's where that's at. Very difficult stuff. I may very well just end up putting a lot of the footage that didn't make it, but was still semi-interesting, goal to the opposition, something weird happening. I may very well put that in as part of, I don't know, if we're able to put this up as a DVD, maybe you get the full documentary along with outtakes or extended interviews or other stuff, good footage that but didn't make the cut. I don't know, maybe we'll do something about that, but I just wanted to show you how exactly I'm going about backing up all these things. It's done in a semi-coherent way, though probably not the best way going forward, but that's a problem, as already mentioned, for future Lorenzo to deal with.
And with that, the third ever installment of Play by Play is done and dusted. Thank you very much for watching the recap of what was a busy month, but it was a Bunting mental month, so it was all good. I've got quite a few things I'm interested in talking about, but I can't divulge just yet. They may very well come up in the upcoming installment of Play by Play. I'm just going to release the one long-form video in addition to the vlog, so just 2 long-form videos coming up next month. There will be a couple of shorts coming out though, including one that I have been thinking about doing for several months now, so stay tuned for that. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and you will see me in the next one.